Hey guys, welcome back. It's me again, your favorite pest, and here today. I'm going to talk to somebody. I'd like to introduce you to one of my best friends. They say you're lucky if you have a few good friends, and that's what I've got is just a few that I would call really great friends, and a bunch of good friends, but just a few really great ones. So he's also my pastor. I was ordained at his church, and we've been in ministry for a long time together. Even if we're not in a church together, he'll still be my pastor.
Well,
So
thank you, buddy. Thank you, Tootie.
this is Pastor Eric Lockett, and you got anything to say before I start with some hard questions?
No, go ahead and hit me with the hard questions.
Well, what I'd really like to talk about is there was a time when we started a church together, and something happened just before that time to cause us to start that church together.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of like for you to tell that story.
Well, there's several things that transpire. And by the way, thank you for having me on the show today. I appreciate it. And so, I mean, to look at that work that you and I worked so closely on for those years, and to reflect on how much of a wonderful thing that um, was just a great chapter of my life, and I think it was yours too.
Yeah,
But there were some things that happened, the catalyst to get me there. I don't know about you, but to get me there. So do you want me to talk about some things that led up to that?
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a number of things. There's around 2000, I think, 2020, and so my mind don't go back real far. So you might have to help me on some uh, on some details on that one. But I think the one thing that happened, Tootie, is we were on vacation at a place in Kentucky. We were over the mountain from Whitesburg in a little place called Partridge, Kentucky. And it wasn't a working trip, ministry trip. I was just fishing, and me and Miss Amy and John and family was there, and um, everything was going great. Beautiful weather. I was fishing, and I was sitting on the ground fishing. And when I stood up, I went to stand up, and I really don't know what happened then, but I found myself on the ground. My leg come out from under me, and I was in a pain that I had never experienced before. I mean, I've had broken bones, hip replacements, but this was different. There was a pain. I fell to the ground, and I started just hollering and call 911. And my family thought I was getting stung with a bunch of bees. I was rolling around on the ground. And so anyway, something happened to my knee, right? So my knee was gone. There was nothing left as far as being able to stand on the knee. So they loaded me in the van. Miss Amy drove me across the mountain to Whitesburg Hospital, and they rolled me in there. And by that time, my knee was about the size of a small cantaloupe, and there was just nothing that was holding the bottom on it. Felt like. So they did an X-ray, and it wasn't a bone, but it was a quad pull, and they said we're not equipped to handle anything like this. You're just gonna have to go home and do the best you can there. So we stayed the night in the cabin that night. Miss Amy rolled me into the orthopedics. Got to see Dr. Park. He was the one that did my hip. And so they did some imaging, and it wasn't good news. It was a quad pull. And what had happened is my quad pulled completely off the knee. There
Mm.
was nothing left on the quad muscle that was still attached. And so, long story short, Dr. Park said this is an accident that we see in car wrecks. Normal people don't do this to their knee. And so here we are, and so I'm facing surgery. We go over the how long all this is going to be, and it's about a 6, possibly 8 month recovery, right? And so you know that I have just been an old working person,
Mm.
construction. You've heard me say, you say from time to time, I may not be very smart, but I can lift heavy things. So that's the jobs that I've had. The jobs that I've had required me to be physical on my job. So
Yeah.
here I am. I'm at home. I'm at least possibly 6 months out of work, and I don't know about folks that will watch this. You might have money to pay your bills for a year and a half, a year ahead, but I didn't. So it was a real difficult time of why uh, I take great pride in providing for my family, as do you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was taken away. And to be a man's man that takes care of his family and believes that that's a big role in a man to be able to provide for his family, and that's taken away from you like that. So I did what we all do the first day or two. What am I going to do? I got, we forget that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and in that time I was like, man, my life is changed. Will I ever recover? Right? So I went through a day or two of that, and then there was a peace that come over me that, like, man, it was just unbelievable. Like, and what it was God, the Holy Spirit in my life was saying, you've been so busy, concerned about you and what your plans are for your future that I had to slow you down a bit.
Mm.
So, here it is, God just taking your knee out and saying, okay, do I have your attention? What do you think old Eric said?
You have to say, yes, sir, you do.
Yes, sir. You've got my attention. And so moving forward, God sustained us far more than what my paycheck was. There were people that come with groceries and fresh produce out of the garden and writing checks, and it was just overwhelming, the support that I had in that time. You guys, I'm sure, were a big part of that. And so it gave me a chance to just stop everything. Sometimes God just says, stop. Would you please stop? And that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm stopped. I'm praying. I'm encouraged. God, you've allowed this to happen. Scriptures coming to my mind, like, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you as though some strange thing happened. And then the next verse is, but rejoice. So, what have I got to rejoice in this right here, right? So, but I did. I said, God, I'm excited for what you have for me, because this is pretty extreme to get my attention. So now you've got it. And so there were some things that happened. Do you remember how we landed on that building that we rented to have that church in? Do you remember kind of how that went?
Yeah, I do. It was it was crazy too. I knew the landlord there, and Pastor Eric did too. We had gone to church, not all three of us, but I had gone to church with Mark for years.
And I didn't know him at the time.
Yeah.
Other than I delivered some material to him one time, and that was it. So that was it. I didn't know. I saw the big for rent sign on the glass. So.
Okay, so we get up there and we're driving by, and I had blown the speaker on one of my speakers for the sound system that I had. And he had this speaker just sitting out there. He was selling some stuff like Mark does, but we stopped to talk to him for a minute because I hadn't seen him for a while. And we got to looking at this building, and he told me to go in and look at it. So I went in and looked at it. And then I called up Eric and I said, hey, where you at? He said, we're at home getting ready to do something.
Probably eat.
So I was on FaceTime with him, or Messenger, or one of those video things. But I was messaging him, showing him the inside of this building, and he said, can you stay there for about 10 minutes? And I said, yeah. He said, I'm on the way. So I'll let you take up the story from there.
So that's the gist of it. But the God thing is that you and I had joked around about doing church work together, right? But we never serious talked about it. So that building, Amy and I, we drove by in the big for rent sign, and I pulled over, and not still trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, but a place for rent kind of excited if you're a church planner, right? Mm-hmm. So I pulled over and we took some pictures, put our nose to the glass and took some pictures, and carried on. Didn't think anything else of it. So when you called me a day or two after that, we hadn't talked about this building. So you called me, we were videoing, and I said, "Where are you at?" And you told me, and I said, "I stopped and took pictures of that building a couple days ago." So I think at that time you and I began to get a little serious.
Yeah.
You know how God was doing some things right in our midst. So and then you know the rest of the story. So God, it was a long process. Through that process of my knee, God did a miracle after miracle after miracle. I recovered very, very quickly. But even with that knee, I still had some stuff going on. I got autoimmune disease and an artificial hip and other stuff, and I just couldn't continue to work the way I worked. And so during that time, God was working with some moving parts, trying to get the timing right, and through a miracle and the blessing of some friends and just some God connections, I went to work for a very short period of time after the knee, and then I was put into a place where I didn't have to work anymore. You and I are having a church, and man, what a good thing, man. We things in the community and working together, and I don't think I've ever worked with somebody who I could work so closely with in the church, like we share in the brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's the I guess the gist of it is if you find yourself in a place that's confusing, it's hurtful, it's dark, it's unfamiliar, and it's a valley. I always think of Romans 8:28. For all things work for the good to them that love the Lord and who are the called according to his purpose.
Yep.
And so all things, that blown knee, I've told people after that blown knee was the best thing that's ever happened to me. Why? Because you and I shared and worked, lives were changed, worked in the community, and man, we had people at our church that come through that were extremely blessed. And so the all things was a knee. I don't know if you got any all things in your life that happened. It was
Well, yeah, I mean, not that particular one. I've had a few where God is just saying, "Be still and know that I'm God."
yeah, yeah,
I was laid off a couple of times. Didn't miss a beat
yeah.
in our finances. In fact, first layoff, when I did find another job, it was a 36 or 38% decrease in salary. And yet we had more disposable income than we had before
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
laid off. So
yeah.
God takes care of us.
He does. And I was through one of those layoffs. I was more worried than you were.
Yeah.
You were just, I'll be calling you, "Hey man, you find anything? You got anything?" And you're like tiptoeing through the tulips, like everything's good. I'm like, man, I'd be scared to death right now.
It's one of those things when God's got your back, God's got your back.
He's got your back.
And
So yeah.
and I want to put something out here. I'm going to say it on YouTube so it's permanent, so I can't back down from it. I just feel like right now we're not in the ministry together.
Mm-hmm.
Still great friends, but not in the ministry together. But I think that time's coming again.
I think so too.
So
so there's going to be another video down the road where we're going to reflect back on this one, and we'll be, I don't know, we'll see, won't we?
yeah, we'll be telling you what that is whenever God tells us what it is.
If anybody is gifted in the prophetic, you can give us some insight while you're call Tootie on a cell phone. His number is now. Do that.
I put my number out there last time, so they've got it. That's all I wanted to say or have in this video. I wanted that story because a lot of people go through life and they have something that happens and it's the why me, God?
Mm-hmm.
Why did this happen now? But God has a plan for everything.
Yes.
And the plan, even though it was painful, the plan was the best thing for your life at that time.
The best thing that ever happened to him.
So God's got that in store for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it. You got any parting words?
No, if you're going through a major storm, God's will and His purpose doesn't stop when you're in those times in your life. There's purpose in that storm. And I preached Sunday before last, purpose in your storm. And so just know and be encouraged that if you're in a time right now that's come out of nowhere, you didn't see it coming, there's a man that'll stand on the front of that ship and just say, "Peace, be still." People are watching you in your storm,
Mm-hmm.
and you have purpose in your storm. Just don't lose hope. Keep on praying, find that purpose, and I think you'll get through it.
And if any of you guys listening are pastors anywhere, and you want to have somebody come in and preach for you, Pastor Eric is a wonderful preacher. I've
Thank
told
you,
him
sir. I appreciate
I've
that.
told him several times that I wish I could preach like that, but we have totally different styles. Y'all would be bored with me.
I wish I could look as good as you. So here we are.
So there you go. I think that's all we're gonna say for today. So y'all have fun, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me, too.